All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Enlightened Conversations. Really excited. We have Alan Williams out in Ireland right now. And we were just talking before we started the podcast how awesome it is to be able to connect with people all over the world and the technology as it advances to be able to collaborate and just share cool things with the world. So today will be one of those days where we're sharing lots of cool stuff. And I'm excited to introduce you guys to Alan, Alan is a health and wellness coach, entrepreneur, author, and speaker, and we're connected through social media. And I just love seeing when people, obviously want to make an impact on the people that they're working with. And that was obvious just spending a few moments on Alan's Instagram page. And so really excited to introduce him to you guys today. And without further ado from me, I want to introduce you guys to Alan. And Alan, if you could just share with the audience so they're more familiar with you, who you are, what you do, and why you do it, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Noel. It's a pleasure. And as you said, it's great to interact with people on the other side of the world as well. I'm primarily a health and wellness coach. I do a lot of corporate wellness speaking. I do a lot of online coaching. I am an author. And the primary reason I do everything that I do is to help people. It's to make a positive impact in people's lives. It's to bring some value to them that's going to improve the quality of their life in some way.
Love it. Love it. And for you, was it something that your chosen field with health and wellness, was that something that you always had a passion for? And so that was kind of the natural direction that you wanted to take it?
Yeah, absolutely. Growing up, I would have always been very into football and different team sports. I had a bit of a tough time, I suppose, a few years back. I set up my own business, and I know you're very into manifesting and things like that as well. So that's something I've had huge benefit from, in that I worked in a gym for 8 years, and then I got to a point where I felt like I needed to get out into the world and make a difference, and I wanted to do more. And I wasn't in an environment where I could do that because I suppose I felt like I was being held back a little bit. I wasn't fulfilling my potential. So I wanted to get out there. So it was actually 2013. I handed in my notice in that job. So we were in the middle of a recession. The whole world probably was struggling at the time. But I'm from the west of Ireland. I'm from a place called Sligo. And we suffered badly during that recession, probably more so than Dublin and some of the bigger cities here in Ireland. But I think sometimes you've got to back yourself. So I decided I was going to leave the job and I was going to go and set up my own business. And again, it was just one of those things where you have to take a little bit of a chance sometimes, and you have to put a little bit of faith in yourself. And to actually go out and make an impact, that was my driving force. To actually help people was always the driving force, and still probably is to this day, to be honest.
I love it. I love it. I love what you said right there. I always share with people that, when no matter what life experience they're going through right now, that's showing them a clear picture of really how they would like their life to be. And so without those, experiences like you mentioned, and it's interesting, the timetable that you mentioned, because at the same time, 2013 in February was the same time that I left working at a job. Gave mine 2-week notice. I waited for them to pay me my last bonus check that they owed me. And then as soon as I got that, I gave the notice. But it was the same thing, just knowing that I could make a much greater impact and really enjoy life more. I always ask myself, because knowing that this moment is the only moment that's promised, I ask myself, what do I really, feel, inspired to do with my time? Because, if tomorrow's not promised and I have right now today, then if I'm going to, a job that I know that I'd rather be doing something else, it's okay for a moment, but then I want to be open to, a way to be able to go out there and live the life that I truly feel like I want to be living. So
I completely agree. And I think it's important to understand what success is to each of us as an individual, because I think sometimes people look at entrepreneurs and they think about money and they think about wealth and they think about big houses and cars and all this, which is fine. But to me, success will be if I can ask myself, do I love the life I lead? And I can honestly answer yes to that. And I think that's where I'm at the moment. So yes, of course, we all want to be financially free. Yes, of course, we all want to live comfortably. But I think in the middle of all that, if you're not happy, is it really success? So I think you've got to actually look after the mental and physical side of things in equal measure. And again, that's what I try to get across to all my clients. I would have come from a background of fitness environment. I would have been training people to change their bodies physically. But what I really understood over the last probably 10, 15 years was that to change the body is not about the body, it's about the mind. It's changing the mindset. And I think that's the same in all areas of life. So you touched on it there yourself, where you were saying about living for today and living your best life and having something appealing. And I think that's important because you will see, let's say, for example, somebody who loses a lot of weight and maybe they've lost 2 stone, they're doing really well. And then I'll chat to them and they'll say to me, well, I don't want to go back to where I was. And it's such a common thing. And I say, no, let's create an appealing future. Let's create something that excites us. Where do you want to go next? Don't think about, I don't want to go back there. Because I think if you're focused on, I don't want to go back there, you could end up back there pretty quick.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a law of the universe. What you focus on, that's where your attention goes. And where your attention goes is where your energy flows. And then the longer that you flow energy towards anything, it's going to manifest into whatever that is. So that's awesome. See, that's what's cool about, I love having these conversations. And there's so many people in the world that when they get that part that you just mentioned, as far as that, it starts with the internal, and that's what flows out into the external, the world that we see. You can apply that to to health and wellness, to relationships, to anything.
Yeah. And again, you've probably seen it as well in building a business. It's one of those things where I believe your mindset is largely going to dictate your outcome. And when I started off, as we mentioned there, it was recessionary times. It was really difficult. So maybe at that stage, the easy opportunity or the easy option might have been to say, this is not working. This is too hard. I failed. I tried, but I failed. And I think it's in those times when it's really difficult, that's when you've got to believe in it more than ever. And I always remember when I set out in my business, I had said to a colleague in the gym at the time, I'm going to be the best fitness instructor in Sligo. Sligo was my local town. But in my head, I actually thought, I'm going to be the best fitness instructor in Ireland. That was the way I was thinking. It wasn't even Sligo. But I got such a rude awakening when I went out into the real world. I started running fitness classes, and initially there was only 3-4 people turning up. And it was at that point, it felt so difficult because I had a mortgage to pay and I had a lot of responsibilities, I suppose, at the time. But that's when you really, really have to believe it. I always had that image in my head that someday I'll get to where I want to be. And I never let that go, and I kept working towards it. And I think it's important for people to understand that there is always going to be tough times. And it's when those times are tough that you've got to have that vision in your head. You've got to see it in your mind's eye. You've got to keep believing in it. And you've got to keep working towards it.
I love it. No, so true. So many things that you're saying right there. And it's really cool because what I've noticed about the human brain, and I've been to some pretty cool retreats, in different parts of the world where they have the science to kind of back it up. But it's interesting. What I kept hearing from you is the believing in yourself and the knowing that even though you couldn't see exactly how it was going to work out, when it was going to work out, exactly all the details, which none of us ever know all of those details in life. So just that you kept your mind on, believing in yourself and knowing that you were going in the direction that you wanted to go, and it would unfold the way that it needed to. I always tell people, if you can at least stay at, because that's a stronger energy, what you were describing. I tell people if they can at least stay at just optimistic, I don't know how it's going to work out right now, but I think that it will. I believe that it will. Just stay optimistic about their situation, whatever it is. Because once you dip down in the pessimistic, where it's like, oh, this is not going to work out, then it probably won't. So that's
I completely agree.
Yeah.
And also, I think just controlling the controllables. Do what you can today and don't worry about the rest. And I think people get overwhelmed sometimes and they always look towards the end goal and think, I have to jump to there as quick as I can. But I think just slow it down. Just control what you can do today. Create some momentum, a little shift, do something small, build on it, the compound effect, a little bit each day. It builds up and it builds up and it builds up. And I think that was ultimately what I had to keep doing. All I was doing was just getting through the day. And at that time, it was just make enough money to pay the bills because that was all I could do, and knowing that someday it would get better, and only by putting the work in. And we talk about the law of attraction and we talk about The Secret and all this stuff, and I love that, but I always think too, you've got to be accountable and you've got to do the work. Again, this is something I kind of laugh about, but everybody thinks, well, I'd love to have $10 million in the bank, so I'm going to manifest that. But I mean, if you're going to sit on the couch and watch Jeremy Kyle for the day, you're not going to have $10 million in the bank. So yes, you can have that dream and you can put it out there. But I believe what it actually does is it puts you in the frame of mind to then go and achieve it. Because then you start asking yourself, well, what do I have to do to get that $10 million in the bank? What are the steps I've got to take? What are the things I've got to do consistently every day, the non-negotiables?
And I love that you just said that, because I want to use Alan as an example here. what I've found in life is it's much easier to enjoy the journey, because for those that think that they'll be happy when they have the 10 million in the bank, it's very, very difficult. And I don't know any examples really of someone that did not enjoy the entire journey going from, not having any money to 10 million. I don't know. I've never heard the story where someone just didn't enjoy the whole journey. Most of the time, almost every time, every story that I've ever heard, it's someone that is enjoying what they're doing and they're enjoying the process of it. And if 10 million is a goal, or if a successful business or a successful relationship or whatever it is the goal, if you can enjoy the moment by moment, day by day, all the way through, and not need to know exactly how long it's going to take for you to get there or what the details are and all that stuff, those are the people that normally make it, because,
right.
Yeah, because you don't need the end goal to be, happy doing what you're doing. So I use you as an example, Alan. You found something that you enjoy doing and you enjoy the impact that you're making. So, of course, Alan has goals, and I'll ask him about, what those are. Is at least short term, what he's excited about now. I'll ask him about that in a minute. But you can tell that he enjoys doing what he's doing right now. So, it's not it doesn't matter when that, happens. He's not going to be happy when that happens. He'll be happy when that happens for sure, but he can be happy now also, and all the way to it.
You got to enjoy every day. And I think you've got to live it and you've got to love it. And, we mentioned earlier about success and what is success. Well, I have seen people that, would have achieved their goal in terms of maybe a financial goal, but if in the middle of all that, they're an emotional train wreck, I've seen people turn to alcohol, drugs, and there's no happiness then, because people think, well, I'll be happy when, as you mentioned, I'll be happy when I get to that number. But when they got there, they discovered, well, this is not really what I thought it was. So I think you've got to enjoy yourself along the way. And even there, I've given you a little bit about my backstory, but over the following years, I suppose I went on to achieve some pretty good things that I had set out to do, in terms of, like, I've wrote for the Irish Independent, which will be the biggest newspaper here in Ireland. I've been on News Talk, one of the biggest radio stations in Ireland. I've done BBC Radio in the UK. So I got to where I wanted to be, but very much so, I would say, I look back on it now and I say it was the hard times that made me who I am today. And I wouldn't change them. I really wouldn't, because without those tough times, without those challenges, without those difficult years, I think what they did was they made me resilient. And we hear the word resilient bandied about all the time now. But I really think you've got to experience tough times to actually achieve success in any area of life. And I think that's important for people to understand, because we live now in an instant gratification generation, shall we say, where people want everything now and they don't want to maybe do as much work. And when it doesn't happen, maybe they're wondering, why do I not do that? Because they're going by what they see on Instagram, and they're going up with this. It's only a highlights reel. It's not real, So really think about, if I want to achieve something, I'm going to have to dedicate myself to it. I'm going to have to do the work. I'm going to have to put in the hours. Yes, there'll be tough times. Yes, you'll probably have what we perceive as failures. Again, I don't really believe in failure. I'd say a winner, I learn. But from that, I think that's how you actually grow and you develop and you become a stronger person.
Absolutely. 100% agree. Yeah. If life was all, rainbows and fairy tales and cupcakes and, prince and princesses, I mean, we wouldn't be inspired to really create anything. Like, we would just be kind of sitting around, and we'd probably still be sitting on like piles of dirt and rocks, because we wouldn't have ever created anything, which, who knows? Maybe that might not be the worst thing, but that's the reason that we all create stuff, because it's like we experience challenges and we're like, I want to see this improve in my life. So we start to do something. So I agree totally. But what are you excited right now at the time of this recording? We're headed into 2020, which is amazing in itself. And what are you excited about right now, ending the year and going into next year, that you're creating? Or
I'm really excited about impacting more people and helping more people, because at the moment I'm putting a huge amount of work into my public speaking, my corporate speaking, different events, and it's just starting to take off for me now. And 2 months ago, I spoke to a group of over 1,000 people, which was just the most incredible experience. So obviously you're helping all these people, but at the same time, I'm growing as well, because for me, public speaking would have been a huge challenge. It wasn't something I would have found easy. I was quite introverted when I was younger. I was very shy. So to actually get up and speak in front of even small groups of people, I found really difficult. But it's like anything, the more you do it and the more you put yourself in that uncomfortable position, the more you start to grow and adapt. And I won't say it gets easier, because I don't believe it does. It's that you get stronger. You begin to understand how to cope with it, how to handle it. and how to put on a better performance. So for me, not only am I now going out impacting people's lives, I'm actually growing as well. So that's what I'm really, really excited about at the moment.
I love it. That's awesome. Yeah, and I can already tell just from the passion that you speak with and the belief that you have and what you're sharing that anybody in those audiences are going to, especially the people that are really there to receive something that, you know, they came there to receive, they're open, they're listening, and they're present. You're definitely going to continue impacting a lot of lives. I'll share something that I learned, and I started to share this earlier in this episode, and then my mind, as it does a lot, goes on left turns, and I share lots of things. But when I was at one of these retreats with Dr. Joe Dispenza, and it was taught me a lot about the science of just a lot of different things and our thoughts and our brain and all these things. But what I've learned just about life and about our minds is, you know, whatever frequency that we're in, wherever, like say we're whatever mood we're in right now, like if someone is like depressed or feeling angry, the only thoughts that we can have in those moments that our brain will feed us are matched to that energy. So if you're angry, you're going to of course have angry thoughts. You know, it seems pretty self-explanatory. Same thing when we're happy and we're passionate about something, then the thoughts that we receive are going to be passionate thoughts. So what I found, like with public speaking, which is awesome, if my intention is like I'm excited to impact the audience with whatever I came there to share with them, then my brain is just like, and of course you're prepared, you've had the life experiences, you know the things that you're going to talk about, but I never worry about like the actual words that are going to come out because I know they're going to be a match to, you know, the energy of wanting to make an impact and passion. And then you could just like flow out all the stuff that you've already experienced in your life and that you've learned. So that makes it fun.
And approach it with a positive attitude as well, because you're not focusing on, well, what if I make a mistake, or what if I get nervous, or what if I stutter over my words? Now you're going, well, I'm actually helping these people, I'm bringing some benefit to them, so therefore, well, what have I to worry about, because I'm making a positive impact. So I think you're absolutely right there. And just that you mentioned Dr. Joe Dispenza, I think he's incredible, and I've listened to some of his stuff as well. Wasn't he the guy that said, I think it was 80%, 85% of the thoughts we have today are the same as we had yesterday?
We have once we turn 30, it's approaching almost 90% of our thoughts. Once we hit 30 or older, our habits. So same ones we had yesterday. Yeah,
it's incredible. It's incredible to hear. But yeah, I think I've kind of learned how to shape my mindset over the last few years as well, because I would have never really been into the personal development stuff, and you know, it was really only probably 7-8 years ago. I was probably searching for something at the time. I was searching for something in my life because I was trying to build my business and times were really difficult. And I think that's when I just started reading and I started listening to stuff and I started getting more and more into it. Guys like, you know, I've read books, I suppose, Earl Nightingale, The Secret, Lead the Field, all this sort of stuff. You know, Think and Grow Rich, I think we've all probably read at this stage. All those books have just been incredible for me, and they just started to change the way I think and started to make me realize what was actually possible. And I think sometimes all of us probably live within the confines of our mind, and that we nearly box ourselves off and say, well, this is me and this is all I can do, and that stuff's for somebody else. And we nearly convince ourselves that, you know, we can't do it. But I think I'm a perfect example of the last few years. When you start to change that thought process, you can go out there and you can do extraordinary things. You really can. And, you know, I won't say you can do anything, because, you know, you hear that phrase a lot, but you could be 78 years of age. If you're 78 years of age, you're not going to compete with Usain Bolt, you know, so you can't do anything. But at the same time, we can all do extraordinary things. And I think we should all be striving to improve and always compete with ourselves, not with anybody else. If you can be a little bit better today than you were yesterday, you're going to start moving yourself up exponentially without looking at what anybody else is doing.
Absolutely. And that, what you just said, just at the end, the comparison, especially with social media, if we can stay away from that, because we've all had such unique journeys, every single one of us. And, you know, what we see, whether it be their highlight reel, which is most likely what you're seeing, regardless of what you're seeing, you have no idea all the challenges and all the experiences that they've had leading up to that point that has got them to that point in the first place. So, you know, you can use other people's stories and challenges to help, you know, give you some guidance. Every challenge doesn't have to be our own. You know, we could take other people's, but at the same time, just all of our journeys are so unique. And that's what makes it cool for me to share a planet with, you know, 7.7 billion people is the last number that I saw. So because everybody's so different and wants to create different things and do different things, and
Everybody's got a different story.
yeah, so that's awesome. Well, you shared, I know a lot of this. The question that I've been asking everybody on all these podcasts, Alan, that I know you shared throughout the episode, but I'm sure there's probably something else that you probably want to share with the audience as well. But the reason I started sharing, and I shared this with a little bit with you at the beginning before we recorded, is I asked myself the question of all the things that I've become aware of in my life, whether it be through books or just personal experience or, just learning from, anything. Had I shared it with humanity so that, tomorrow's not promised. If I'm gone, one day, when I'm gone one day, maybe somebody might come 100 years later and be like, oh, this YouTube video helped me or whatever. And if it was one person, great. If it was millions, great. So I just started sharing all this stuff that I could, and we'll do that for as long as I'm here on the earth. But what's something that you want the audience to know just from your experience? On top of you already shared so many cool things. Is there anything else that you want the audience to know?
There's so much. I could be here all day. No, I actually released a book last year because I had so much opinions and different thoughts that I wanted to put out there. So I brought out my first book last year. And on that, it was a series of little chapters on a lot of the stuff we've talked about in terms of positive thinking, in terms of being accountable, in terms of doing the work, but other things that I think are massively important. I'm going to give you two. Number one, I would say learn every day. Learn every day. And for me, I read every day. When I'm in the car, I listen to audiobooks. When I'm in the gym, I listen to podcasts. So I'm multitasking, but I'm taking in so much information, and it just brings you up so much, just a little bit each day. And I think if you want to improve whatever area of your life, go and study somebody that has done what you want to do. And you're going to find things that, as Tony Robbins always says, success leaves clues. So go and take what you can from that and apply it to your own situation. And it doesn't have to mimic it or anything like that, but you can learn from it and just come up with your own blueprint. So that's the first thing I would say, is learn every day. The day you stop learning is the day you're finished. The second thing I would say is surround yourself with good people. I believe the people around you are fundamentally important in shaping your mindset. And when I set up my own business, I discovered this again at the time was, maybe I didn't have the best people around me. Maybe they weren't as driven, as passionate, as enthusiastic, as positive as I was. And to actually improve, I had to get people around me who I think shared my dreams, shared my goals. I'd reached out to other entrepreneurs, people who were starting out, people who had done before me, but people who knew what it was like to be in my position. But also, and I can't stress this enough, people who are positive. Please don't give all your time to people who spend all of their day bitching and moaning and gossiping about people and have nothing good to say about anybody. People who say to you, well, you can't do that, or people who say to you, why would you even think you could do that? Or, those people are just energy vampires as far as I'm concerned. So get good people around you. I do believe we become the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. So there's 2 things I would absolutely say. Number 1, learn every day. And number 2, surround yourself with good people.
Awesome advice. If you guys spaced on any of that, rewind and listen to Alan's 2 things again, because those are both so important.
Speaking too fast with my Irish accent.
No, that was perfect. And just piggybacking on the people that you find around you. Once people, and before I say this, not that these people are bad people, but because I think we all have the capability as human beings to be happy and joyful, and also sad and depressed and angry and everything in between. So we all have that capability. But knowing that now science has shown that, since so many of our thoughts are habitual, if someone shows you that they're constantly choosing to be negative, glass half empty, pessimistic, that's what they're choosing to show you, that's not going to change by itself. Like, they first have to have the light bulb come on and be aware that that's how they're being. And then there's a process of creating a new habit for themselves, which is going to take, a little bit of time for them to do, and they have to want to do it. So once someone shows me that they're choosing to, their habit of being is the way it is, if that's not something that I choose to have around me, if I don't want that energy around, then that's an easy choice.
Absolutely. And it's important to understand that we all have bad days too, and we all have good and bad days. But for the most part, if it's somebody that seems to have a bad day every day and they have nothing positive to bring to your life, you possibly don't need to spend as much time with them. And there's going to be situations where maybe it's a family member, or maybe it's a child that you've grown up with and you can't cut them out of your life. And that's fine too. But maybe it's just a case of actually spending the time you need to with them and no more. You don't need to spend all of your time with them. So, and that sounds a little bit harsh, but I think you have to look out for yourself at some point as well.
I agree 100%. Yeah. If we don't take care of our own, our own inner, energy first, and then our own external, our body. If we don't take care of ourselves first, then we really don't have anything to share with anyone else anyway. So definitely
Absolutely.
has to be
And
most
it's not a
important.
selfish thing. It's really not, because I think when you get the best out of yourself, the people around you get the best out of you as well. They benefit from it. So your whole ecosystem changes. So it's not, I'd come across parents as well a lot who maybe think it's selfish to take time for themselves, or to work on themselves, or to better themselves in some way, or maybe to go to the gym for an hour in the evening because maybe the kids have something else on or whatever. But I always say to them, if you go to the gym for that hour in the evening, you're going to come back feeling good. You're in better form. Your energy levels are better. You're thinking clearly. You're more positive, and all of the people around you benefit from that, rather than the situation that a lot of people are in, where they go from work, come home, they're really stressed, just go to bed, get up the next day, work, bed. Stress levels are high, and maybe they're snapping at their kids, and maybe their patience is low, and so it's not a selfish thing to do to look after yourself. It's going to benefit everybody.
Absolutely. 100%. No, that's awesome. Awesome advice. Definitely. You're giving great advice on this, Alan, and I really appreciate you coming on and sharing with the audience. And
Pleasure.
everybody, definitely connect with Alan on social media. All of his links will be here in the description, and definitely connect with him and just be able to feel. I love connecting with people on social media that it's obvious that they're making an impact and going to continue making an impact, because they'll post something and it'll just be a nice little, uplift for our energy. And then you can carry that on into the rest of your day. And Alan's definitely one of those on social media for sure. Anything else?
On that, yeah, just to pick up on that one, I think be careful about who you're following on social media, because it comes back to the point we've just made about the people around you. I think the online world is the same. There's a lot of negativity on there. There's a lot of attention seeking on there. There's a lot of moaning and complaining on there. It's very, very simple in my mind. People who are not bringing you value, unfollow. If they're making you feel bad about yourself, you don't need to see that. So I would just get rid. But then there's other people who are fantastic with social media. There's people who are inspiring people. There's people who make you feel good. There's people, as you said, who give you a lift when you come on. Those are the people that you want to follow. Those are the people that are bringing you value. So just, I suppose, treat your social media world a little bit the same as the outside world, in that if people are making you feel bad, if they're not bringing any benefit or any value to you, you really need to be seeing their content every day.
That's a really great point, because we've heard the 5 people around us are, very important. But a lot of times people are spending more time on social media these days than they are with any 5 people around them. So definitely have to monitor that as much or more than, because you're giving so much attention. So that's a really great point. For sure.
And again, it's so interesting when people say, well, Facebook is the root of everything, and they're blaming Facebook for this and that. And I go, well, Facebook is only the vehicle. Facebook doesn't write negative shit. People write negative shit. It's not Facebook that actually writes it. Facebook is the tool. It's the people behind it, So just make it work for you. And if it's not working for you, take breaks from it. And I do this all the time myself as well. I would tend to take the weekends away from social media, because I think we can overconsume it. And what I've noticed is when I switch off from it, typically on a Friday night, I log out of Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, LinkedIn, everything. And I don't come back until Monday. And when I'm at that weekend, I go and I spend time with family and friends, or I get outside in nature, I go to the beach, I go for a walk. And on Monday, I feel so refreshed. So I think it is a good idea for people, if you're finding your mood dropping, or if you're finding your energy levels a little bit low from possibly scrolling through your Facebook feed a lot, maybe just get little breaks from it. It definitely does help.
Absolutely. Great advice. Just being self-aware is, what Alan is describing there. If it's something that, because once you're aware, then you can have a choice to do something about it. So yeah, ask yourself, are there things in life, whether it be social media or anything, that you notice your energy levels dropping as a result of you doing these things? And once you can pinpoint those, whatever those things are, then you can either change something about it or eliminate it from your life, altogether, whatever you need to do. But that's more important than anything else, like being self-aware of it for sure.
For sure.
That's awesome.
And as you said, I know you're big on kind of manifesting and positivity as well, and I'm the same as that. And it's something I would like to help people understand a little bit more, because I'm sure there's still a lot of people who think, oh, well, that's a little bit nonsense or whatever. But it's something that's made a huge, huge difference for me in my life. And it's something that I believe has taken me from where I was probably to where I am now, in that every day, you know, I'm looking at vision boards. I've got my vision board up there, positive affirmations. If I'm doing a seminar, for example, in my mind's eye, I'm visualizing how that's going to go. So as I said to you, I spoke to 1,000 people back 2 months ago, and everything in my thought process leading up to that is positive. It has to be positive, because if it's not, I'm going to overwhelm myself. I'm going to let stress take over. Anxiety is going to take over. But when I visualize that day, I can see where the stage is. In my mind's eye, I can see exactly how the gig is going to go. I can see all the people in front of me. I can sense the atmosphere in the room. I can hear the noise when people are coming in. And I'm seeing myself in control of that. And I'm seeing myself staying calm. And I'm seeing myself bringing value to these people. I can see that people are going to be laughing when I make a little joke. I can see that people are going to respond to certain things. I can see that they're going to be going out the room on a high. They're going to be buzzing and ready to change something about their lives. So I think when you get into that frame of mind and you learn how to visualize and you learn how to make your mindset and gratitude and positivity and all these things work for you, your whole life changes. And that's what I'd really like to express to people this evening.
Absolutely. No, that's great. That's great. And for anybody out there, I like to make it so simple, because everything that Alan just mentioned is like, that's so powerful, because you can already live the experience that you're going to live. You can preview it for yourself. And then when he went to go actually speak, he was just, you know, he was living out like the experience that he'd already experienced many times. So very, very powerful.
That's exactly what it is. You feel like you've been there already because you've played it out in your head over and over. So when it comes on the day, it really just runs quite smoothly, because it's not really that new to you. Whereas if you haven't given it that thought, that consideration, you're going in there and maybe you're like a rabbit in the headlights. Whereas if you've prepared and you're got your positive affirmations. And even when I started out, I remember doing a seminar, and it was one of the first ones I did. But I decided I wanted to make an impact, because I'd been building up a bit of a following on Facebook at this stage. So I said, I'm going to get out there and I'm going to speak. And I'm just going to, I'd never spoke really in public before. I had very few gigs behind me. But again, coming back to, you know, visualization and seeing in your mind how it's going to go. I remember I sent a text message to the girl who was helping me to market the event. So she does a lot of branding for me and different things like that. And I sent her a message and I said, we're going to have 200 people at this event. And I think I got a message back on, you're mad in the head. Like, what are you talking about? You know? And I said, well, we're going to have 200 people at this event. And from the moment I put a number on it, I was so switched on. I was tuned in mentally. I was going, what now do I have to do to make that happen? Because I've said it, I've verbalized it. Now I have to back it up. So from there, I was straight into the thought process of, okay, I'm going to have to be posting content a lot on social media. I'm going to have to get a lot of advertising around the area. I'm going to have to keep banging it out there, getting on local radio stations. And believe it or not, when we turned up on the night, we had over 300 people. So it just shows you, I suppose, when you take that approach and you decide, I'm going to make it happen, I'm going to be positive, you can do it.
Absolutely. 100%. 100%. I love it. That's, if you guys can apply that, what Alan just shared in your life, that is, I'd say that that's we all have that capability, and that's an advanced way of living. Your life will go, because there's a lot of people that have a hard time grasping how visualization or affirmations can really help them. To make it even simpler for anyone, like if you're in a bad mood, your only thoughts can be a match to that. So if your thoughts are negative, then the words that you speak will be negative. Any actions that you take will be negative. So your results will be negative. So if you want to like simplify it, like that's for the people that don't want to believe in what Alan just shared. But if you want to believe that, then you could take it to where Alan just take it with the visualizations. And affirmations are really powerful, because like if you think of anything that we believe right now, the reason we believe it is because we've thought that thought so many times. So if you think I am this, I am this, I am this, I am this, eventually you're going to believe it. So maybe
absolutely.
So maybe the first time. Go
on. Yeah. I was just going to say, even just breaking down that goal into more manageable steps as well. And I think that's something where people go wrong, because they're nearly overwhelming themselves in that, you know, I could say I want 200 people at that gig, but if I'm not going to break that down into the little steps of how am I going to get there, then it isn't going to happen. And I think, again, I've worked with a lot of clients, weight loss clients, and you always have people say, I need to lose 2 stone, or I need to lose a stone, or whatever it is. And they're so overwhelmed by it because it's such a big goal that they don't take action. They don't do anything. And I'm saying to them, okay, well, let's break this down. If you want to lose a stone, that's 14 pounds. I think your guys are probably kg in America. You're probably kg.
Yeah, I would have had
but we'll say stones, 14 pounds. Yeah. So £14, and I'm saying to them, okay, all you've got to do is lose £2 this week, and then we're going to do that for the next 7 weeks. So all I need you to think about is £2 this week, and that's only a few small changes. So we'll make a few little changes to your diet. We'll get you moving a little bit more, and that's all. So just lose £2 this week. Forget about everything else. And before you know it, the £2 start to accumulate, and then you're at the big goal. But the problem, I think, with many people is that they want to jump from A to Z without going through B, C, D, E. Okay, so break it down, chunk it down, make it smaller, make it manageable, and that's when you start to achieve extraordinary things, by just taking those little steps each day, turning up every single day, day in, day out, even when you don't feel like it. That's when it's really important to do it, because you're not going to be super motivated every day, but there's days when you just have to get.
Great advice. Really great advice. Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah. If you can, yeah, like Alan said, if you could just go on the journey and because all that we ever have power in is right now. So, you know, if it's a 7-week goal or 7-week process, like you're going to do each part of this 7 weeks right now, and then right now, and then today, and then today, and you just stack them all together, and then you have the big goal. So that's awesome. Awesome advice. I love it. You've given some really good stuff to the audience. I really appreciate you coming on, Alan. I'm excited for people to connect with you, and I'm excited to be connected with you now and see where your journey leads you and what you're inspired to create. Because that's the cool thing about us as human beings. Once we start creating things and seeing things manifest and making an impact, like it's just a question of us asking ourselves, what next? You know, what do I want to do now? So it'll be awesome to see now with you where you choose to take it and the impact that you choose to make. I know it's going to be great.
Oh, cheers, Noel. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on, Alan, and thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Enlightened Conversations. Definitely make sure that you continue to share these episodes. Anybody that popped into your head while listening to Alan speak, definitely was no coincidence. Share this with them. You can impact, one person, or maybe they share it also, and you can make a ripple effect and impact tons of people. But really appreciate you guys continuing to subscribe and rate these episodes and do all the stuff that you guys do. And just it's fun. Like, we're going to keep talking to awesome people like Alan all over the world, and making an impact. And you guys definitely appreciate the support of the channel. And you guys have an amazing day. And we'll all talk to you soon. Thanks so much, Alan, for coming on and sharing.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Noel. And if anybody listening needs any help with anything, get in contact. Instagram, Alan Williams Coaching, same on Facebook. And I'd be more than happy to get back to anybody if I can help with anything. Awesome. You're awesome, Alan. This has been a lot of fun. We'll talk to everybody really soon. Cheers, Noel. Appreciate it. Cool. That was fun, Alan. We're done. Awesome. Yeah. That was good. Great, man. Thank you. Yeah. Conversation that I would have wanted to have anyways, and we just happened to record it so we could share it with people. Yeah, and they're the best podcast.